Hi, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about the books that I would like to read during the month of April. So April is going to be a little bit of a weird month for me. I am going to go on a trip for about a week to Austin to hang out with a friend. We're going to go to a concert, maybe 2 concerts, I'm not quite sure, and just like chill, have a good time, eat a lot, go to a club or something. So I don't know how much I'll actually read while I'm there. He does have some shifts during the week, so I'm sure I'll get some reading in there. So I'm not gonna have a super long TBR. I usually am very optimistic and just put a bunch of shit in a video because I want to read everything, but not this month. I'm going to be very precise with what I want to read. Mostly this month I am going to be participating in the magical readathon, which I'm very excited about. I've participated in this readathon very early on in the first iteration and off and on, like spottily in the newest iteration of the readathon. I think it's fantastic. If you've never heard about it, I will put a link down below, but it's basically a readathon that's inspired by like D&D, and it's set at a school where you choose which classes to take depending on what you want your career to be. It's really cool. If you want a whole explanation, I'm gonna go link everything that you need to know down below. I think it's fantastic. Just know I have a couple books to read in order to complete some challenges. Very easy to understand. I just go in, read the books. I know there's a whole bunch of other components to this readathon, guilds and character creation and all that kind of stuff. I think that's fantastic. I'm just gonna read some books to complete some challenges and call it a win. But I have 7 challenges that I need to complete, so at minimum I will be reading 7 books next month, hopefully. I would hate to fail this because I think it's a really fun, it's my favorite readathon. Even if I don't get to participate, I love watching the videos and the TBRs and everything. So the first challenge, the first class I have to pass is astronomy, which is to read a book off the top shelf physically or the top of my TBR. You can't see, but I have another layer of books up here. At the very top, I have nonfiction books. So I have mentioned that I would like to get to more nonfiction this year. I have actually finished one already. I wish I could finish more, but the nonfiction that I would like to read is the Bluestockings, A History of the First Women's Movement by Susannah Gibson. I believe this was on, New York Times 100 Notable Books of 2024, I want to say. I believe this book looks at a group of women in England in the 1700s who would form these like salons, these like groups of women where they talk about politics and theory and a bunch of other stuff that presumably men didn't think women should talk about or know about or were not smart enough to talk about. They would also debate with men and they would write books. I have heard of like the concept of salons and stuff with like the French Revolution and all that. When it comes to approaching nonfiction, I'm really into looking at topics that like already kind of interest me and I need to know more about or I want to know more about. But if you have any other nonfiction recommendations, I love history. I love like gendered history, queer history. And if I read a couple pages a day, I think I could easily get through this. That's kind of how I approach nonfiction in my reading. The next challenge is Inscription. Read a book with a day of the week in the title. I hated this fucking challenge. This fuck ass challenge was the worst because there's only really a few books that I could read. I could technically have done a reread of The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, which I did like, but I don't like rereading mysteries. There were a few like literary fiction books that I could have read, genre fiction I could have read, but I wasn't really interested in those. So I'm gonna go with Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is one that I've heard of for quite some time. It is a YA contemporary mystery thriller. I want to say it's about a young woman named Monday who kind of goes missing, doesn't show up, and her best friend is like, where is she? Like, I'm trying to find her. I have a feeling that no one's really taking her disappearance seriously. I am assuming that this is going to touch on the very real concept or this very real phenomenon of like not taking seriously when like young children of color, specifically in this case Black children, go missing. They're kind of like dismissed. Oh, they're like ran away or they're partying or whatever. I've heard that's fairly hard hitting. I haven't had the best experience with Tiffany D. Jackson, but it's contemporary, so maybe this is something more in her wheelhouse that I would enjoy. The next challenge is Psionics and Divination. Read a book with the word time in the title. This is like the optimism in me coming out, but I do have Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is in my 26 series of 2026, where these are the series that I would like to at least be actively reading, if not finished by the end of the year. This is a sci-fi that's really, really well loved. I believe this takes place quite some time away from our present, where a group of scientists from Earth had wanted to kind of populate, colonize different planets, and kind of grow humans in other planets in our solar system. And when it came to, I don't know if this was supposed to be Saturn or Jupiter or whatever, they tried to like recreate human life, and instead they got like giant spider aliens, and that's what has developed in through evolution on this one particular planet. But that's all I really know. I think it sounds really cool. I know, again, very thick, very optimistic, but like I said, I'm only trying to get to 7 books this month. We'll see. After that, the next challenge is restoration. Ask for 5-star titles, other people's 5-star recommendations. I just went on the Discord that is set up for this readathon, and I just scrolled through people's like 5-star recommendations, and I ended up just choosing one of them that I had on my shelves that I was really interested in, and that was Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. I've been wanting to read this forever. I bought this regular price at the bookstore, and I just like never put it into my TBRs. I never like pushed myself to read this. What I didn't know was that this was kind of a mystery. Like there's some sort of mystery going on. I would have picked it up much sooner if I had known that. I try to avoid discussions about books that I haven't read at all. All I know is that this is like supposed to be lesbian necromancers in space. That's all I know. I think that sounds fantastic as is, but the fact that this might have a mystery component to it, I'm so down. So the next book is Conjuration, the first enticing book you see in social media. So for this, I usually go to Instagram or TikTok to find like book recommendations. Like on social media, I prefer YouTube, to be honest, but I know my TikTok gets a lot of different stuff, so I immediately opened Instagram and I screen recorded. I think it's about a minute long. I will put it up somewhere so you can see like me like scrolling through Instagram. You're probably going to see a lot of K-pop stuff. I love K-pop, but some like horoscope Gemini shit. Eventually I did stumble across a post and I decided to pick up The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I already had it on my shelves. That was also another criteria, was I already have this book. Like I just need someone to entice me to pick it up. So this is a very popular book. I believe the sequel is coming out soon. I want to say that we follow a character who has a gift for prophecy, and she lives in some sort of like abbey with other women that can do this type of magic, and it's a kind of very intense magic on their physical body. But then I think some of these girls start going missing, and our main character, along with some sort of knight, have to go find them or find out what's going on, whatever conspiracy they're gonna figure out. I've heard that the writing is not what you would expect it to be. Like if you expect this vibe in the writing, I heard that that's not the actual vibe. It's a lot more lighthearted. Maybe that's what I heard. We'll see, but I am optimistic, and I do think this cover is stunning. And this is just like the generic cover. I'm not even like, the other covers for the other like book boxes were beautiful. The next class that I have to pass is Demonology. Read a book with a house on the cover. Immediately I went to The Babysitter Lives / Killer on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones. This is technically a shorter novella. It's like one of these books that has 2 stories. There's a house on the cover right here. I don't know what this is about. It's Stephen Graham Jones, so I'll read anything. I'm assuming that there is some sort of babysitter and something goes crazy, something goes wrong. I've heard that this particular collection is like very violent. There's like body horror, which I'm very interested in. I've been really intrigued with body horror in like a, not a tasteful way, but like in a more intriguing way than just like, let's just gross out the audience. I do think that Stephen Graham Jones doesn't just do things for like shock value. From what I've read from him, which I've read one of my favorite trilogies, which is the Angel of Indian Lake trilogy, I just love his work, and I don't think it's just like, let's creep out the kids, you know. And the last class I have to pass is Lore, which is to read a dystopia / utopia. I thought about rereading Scythe by Neil Shusterman because I never continued on with that series, but I have a new release that is technically a dystopian, I want to say, and that is Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. This is the Broken Binding edition, which I think is really cool. This, I want to say, is a standalone, and we follow a character who lives on a different planet that was the like first couple generations that are supposed to like terraform this planet, make it grow for future humans to live in. And they're kind of seen as like a different type of human because of different changes they've gone through in their DNA. They're still human kind of, so they're not seen as equally as human from the humans on Earth, but essentially the company that's in charge of like terraforming this planet has decided to call for an extinction level event called Operation Bounce House, and it's like a bunch of streamers and like gamers that are like committing the acts of violence on the locals of this planet, and our main character and the other locals have to like defend themselves. It's supposed to be a big metaphor. It's supposed to be very like on the nose, but also kind of that Matt Dinniman humor that you would come to expect. I haven't come to expect because I haven't read Dungeon Crawler Carl, that whole lit RPG. So this would be my first go around with this author. So I have low expectations. I've heard some things about this that kind of are like, So if I don't like this, I'm more than happy to unhaul, but I would still give his other series a try, even if I don't like this one. So that's officially what's on my magical readathon TBR. Throughout the month I could pick up like a short story, which I've been doing pretty much every month, is picking up short stories from like Clark's World or Uncanny Magazine, that kind of Reactor, those kinds of publications. So that's something that I could pick up just like on a whim. 10-15 minute short story. I am also trying to read more graphic novels. I did read one this past month that I really enjoyed, and again, they don't take very long. I just don't have one like officially like on the TBR. I mostly just want to focus on the magical readathon stuff. But yeah, that's my TBR for April. I'm very excited. These are a lot of books that I've heard a lot of hype about, that I'm really excited about. Favorite authors, series that I've heard such fantastic things about. Let me know what you are reading in the month of April. Are you also participating in the magical readathon? What is your career? How many years have you been participating? I think the creator of the readathon has added like graduate level coursework now instead of just like undergrad stuff. Talk to me about anything that I've talked about in this video down below in the comments. I will also link my social medias as well, some far more important links down below. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. If you don't know what to say, just leave an emoji. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.